Hi there, it's Maggie Williams again, and today I'm talking about the revenue part of the business model canvas in a series of lectures for implementing business and products. So, the subject of today is revenues, and when you talk about show me the money, of course this is what it comes down to. You're going to have to get some money from somewhere to operate your business. So revenue is related to the right hand part of the canvas. Is the customers that pay you money, and that is what generates your revenue. And so the revenue is underpinning that side of the business model canvas. And of course, for your overall business view, the profit is revenue minus cost. So you're looking to maximize those revenues. And then they are related to your value proposition. So these are the things that you need to think about when setting up your business model canvas. So there's different types of revenue streams. So in principle there's the simple sale of an asset, transfer of ownership that delivers some value. But you can also have like a service usage fee. You can, whether it's for renting or for using a specific service, that you pay for that, but there's no transfer of ownership. There can be an access fee, so in terms of a description that you have access to the internet, to the telephone network, to whatever that. Then there's the whole lending, renting, leasing. Those are different constructions, but you get something that's not in ownership, but so it's similar to a service usage, but so with a service it's about a service, and lending, renting, leasing is about a product or a physical asset. Then there's brokerage fees, so that you pay another provider for example, securing a payment or for matching a candidate for a job or a candidate for a relationship. Those are brokerage fees. And then there's advertising. So then these are different types of revenue streams, and there can be services that generate multiple revenue streams. So especially advertising can be an on top of revenue stream for many things. So when you talk about magazines, newspapers, internet channels, they can all have an advertising fee, but also other types of revenue streams at the same time. So those can be combined. Then there can be different categories in how you get that revenue in, and then a very important thing to look into is you can have either per transaction, or that you have one-time customer payments, or you can have recurring revenues, longer-term contracts, subscription fees, and for businesses. They are really generally looking for having long-term contracts, subscriptions and fees, because then they know that they have a recurring customer and that they have a revenue stream that they can count on. Whereas when you pay per transaction for one time, you never know how much money that client will generate in the future. So there's many companies that are looking for that holy grail of how to get one-time customer into a loyal subscriber that has a lot of fee. And I must say that I'm quite amazed. If you look, for example, at the prepaid concept, I have the prepaid telephones of my son. I have paid €10 somewhere in June last year, and they're still online, and they haven't used much of it. And so, I'm not a revenue generating customer for Simyo as a company. So they would prefer if I would have a subscription fee where they would generate a monthly steady income. So of course related to revenue, because how do you generate revenue? Because your customers pay a price for the service, the value proposition that you deliver. Now pricing is not for nothing one of the 4 P's, because the level of the price will say something about the value proposition and how it's experienced. But looking from the revenue point of view, you can see that there are different types of pricing. So you have fixed pricing, where some items just have fixed list prices. They can be modular prices, so for example in a car you have the basic price of the car, and then with the type of well, air conditioning is no longer an option generally, but something to do with spoilers or extra leather seats or whatever. Now then there are modular prices that build up onto the basic price. There can be customer dependent prices or volume dependent prices. Of course, if you buy larger volumes, in general you get lower prices per piece. Then there can be dynamic pricing, so the price can be based on negotiation, yield, what comes out of it. So, for example, the price of gas is dependent on the calorific content of the gas. Then there's a real-time market, such as that, where prices fluctuate, or an auction where prices can fluctuate. And actually, if you go back to the example of the car in the options, there will be that's list price, that's what the dealer gets from the manufacturer. But then, of course, on top of that, there will be a price that he gets from, calculating based on a list price what the price of the car will be. But then there often is, between the dealer and the client, a type of negotiation, because the dealer probably does not count on getting the full margin simply based on the list pricing, but he makes a price for his customer where he reduces slightly his profit to get in the customer. So there can be, again, combinations of these type of pricing. But fixed pricing and dynamic pricing is the main different type of revenue categories that you have to know and keep in mind. You should also not forget that if you have different revenue streams, there are costs attached to generating that revenue. Of course, the costs belong in the cost field of the business model canvas, but the attached costs can have an influence on how you choose to try and generate those revenue streams. So there's cost per transaction, so if you pay via PayPal, Ideal, MasterCard, etc., you pay a percentage or a cost of the fee, or a fixed cost per transaction. Then there's the cost of bad debt. Sometimes people don't pay, and in the end they don't pay at all, or they pay way too late. And there's the cost of the bills and the administration, whether you just do that yourself or organize a web self-care. So all these things have costs, and they are then again related, for example, to your channels. If you sell your product via salespeople, then the salespeople and the administration of that has costs. If you sell via a web shop, keeping up the web shop and automated, payment services, etc., those are the costs associated with it. So each type of revenue stream, mostly related to channels, has different type of costs involved. And of course, the Everlink, most important link, revenue and the value proposition. And there it's always important to ask for your current and your future situation, how you envision your future situation. So what is the value in the value proposition that your customers are willing to pay for? How are they willing to pay? You see sometimes shops that nowadays say PIN only, no cash. Are customers willing to do that, or do customers also expect to be able to pay cash? How many revenue streams do you have, and how much does each of them contribute? How are they managed via different channels? So, for example, if you have a premium service, if you have a huge advertisement income, then that is managed in a different way than the premium part itself. So look at how you see that and how you fill that in. But overall, if you look at revenue, again, of course, related to cost and the value proposition, in a very simple business perspective, you would say, well, to make a profit, you have to bring costs down and drive the revenue up. However, if within a given value proposition you say, well, how can we do that? Well, let's use cheaper materials, which will lead then to lesser quality. And that means actually to diminishing or cutting back on the value proposition that you offer, which might mean that you are serving, again, a smaller customer segment and getting in less revenue. So as we said before, if you can have multiple products where you have multiple value propositions with a different profitability, and in those terms you have to work on your portfolio management. Also, different value propositions some can have a higher revenue stream and some can have a lower revenue stream, and within your portfolio management you then choose to hang on to certain ones and not. So you can really speculate on how does this work with Volkswagen or Unilever. So maybe if you're talking about cars, then maybe you have some really expensive cars that in itself are quite expensive, but they don't do large volumes. They don't get sold in large volumes. So the overall revenue stream can be low, but still they qualify as an important value proposition within your portfolio and in conveying your brand. Now, talking about your own business, what I see very often in young designers is that they go one of two ways. Is either that they have a sort of disregard for what the customer is willing to pay, and in terms of really that they say, well, but this is worth the money, whatever it is, without actually really stepping in the customer's shoes and assessing it from the customer point of view. Okay, is a customer ready to chuck up a load of money for this product? Or I see designers that are insecure and are way too timid to ask actually the price, the money that they're worth. So you need to find, if you're thinking about revenues and putting the price in the correct range, you need to be sensible and realistic about these things, but think about how you're going to generate that revenue, put the price at the right level, and go with your business. Make your business model canvas, iterate, and start generating those revenues. That's it for today. Thanks for listening.